Hello everyone and welcome to part 4 of A Victory Garden for Maine, brought to you by the University of Maine Cooperative Extension. My name is Lori, and with me today are Marjorie, Becca, and Cara. In this video, we will be discussing what you need to know to get planting. Cara, you have our first question?
Thanks, Lori. One of the previous videos reviewed how to choose my garden location, but how do I arrange the plants within my garden?
There are so many different ways that you can lay out plants in your garden. This is where you get to be creative. I find it's easier to decide what I'm going to put where if I create distinct planting beds and pathways. Remember, a planting bed can be raised or at ground level and 2 to 4 feet wide. With the pathways and the growing areas clearly defined, you'll avoid stepping on fragile plant roots while you're tending your garden. Think about how the sun tracks over your garden space. Try to position tall growing plants like corn, tomatoes, or pole beans on the north side of your garden so they won't cast shade on other plants. If you're growing something that sprawls over the ground like pumpkins, make sure you allocate plenty of space, perhaps letting the vines spill over the edge of the garden. Experienced gardeners will often group vegetables together by plant family. Doing this makes it easy to rotate your crops from year to year. This helps you avoid plant diseases. For example, you might have one quadrant dedicated to broccoli and cauliflower, another quadrant for tomatoes and peppers, and a third for peas and beans, a fourth for cucumbers and squash. The following year, you would move each plant group over to the adjacent section and rotate them around the garden over a period of 4 years.
Another way to arrange plants is by when they will be harvested. So for example, all your early root crops could get planted together in one section of your garden, so that when they're harvested, you'll have room for a later succession of something else. Also, think about things like watering and insect control. You may want to group together crops that need row cover to protect them from flea beetles, or crops that are planted in single rows versus multiple rows to make setting up your drip irrigation system easier.
I've heard the term square foot gardening. Could you explain that?
Square foot gardening is a simple method of creating a small, orderly, and highly productive kitchen garden. It's also a popular way to garden with children. The basic concept is to create a garden bed. 4 by 4 or 4 by 8 feet are common sizes, and divide it into a grid of 1 foot squares, which you manage individually. Seeds or seedlings of each kind of vegetable are planted in 1 or more squares at a density based on plant size. For example, you'd plant about 16 radish seeds per square, but only 1 pepper plant. Since there are no paths, there's no wasted space, and the soil in the bed stays loose because you never step on it.
People also talk about companion planting. Are there certain crops that grow better when planted with others?
Companion planting is the art of growing plants close to each other because they enhance or complement each other in some way. An example of this is a Three Sisters planting that was traditionally used by Native American cultures, growing corn, beans, and squash in the same space. The corn acts as a natural bean pole, while the beans contribute nitrogen to the soil for other crops to use. The squash vines, spreading over the ground, may discourage raccoons, while the leaves shade the soil surface, suppressing weeds and reducing water loss by evaporation.
How do I know whether to sow seeds directly in the garden or to use transplants?
Planting directions are usually written on the back of the seed packet and in seed catalogs. In general, you should direct seed root crops like carrots, radishes, beets, and turnips. Root crops do not like to be transplanted. You can also direct seed leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, kale, and Swiss chard, squashes, both winter and summer varieties, cucumbers, and beans and peas. These all mature within our frost-free growing season and don't have to be started indoors ahead of time. Of course, if you want to get a jump on the season, you can grow or buy transplants. You should use transplants for vegetables that take a long time to bear fruit and are sensitive to frost, like tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants. These crops would be unlikely to reach maturity in Maine if you sow them from seed in your garden. They usually need a 4 to 6 week head start on the growing season.
Good places to shop for transplants are your local farmers markets and nurseries. When you are shopping, examine the plants carefully. Look for healthy, stocky plants that have been well taken care of. Avoid tall, spindly plants that may have been in their pots too long or were competing for limited light while they grew. Also, avoid plants that show symptoms of diseases, yellowing or browning of leaves, or insects like aphids, whiteflies, or fungus gnats.
Ease a seedling out of its container to look at the roots. If it's bone dry, don't buy it, as it's under stress. The root balls should be moist, and the potting soil should not fall away. The roots should almost fill the container with loose, white, fibrous growth. Do not buy seedlings that have a solid mass of tangled roots, as they've been in the pot too long and will not fully recover.
Where should I go to get good seeds?
Local garden supply centers and Maine-based seed companies are reliable sources for varieties that are good to grow in Maine gardens. Do your research if you're going to buy from a big box store to make sure that those varieties will grow well in Maine. Also, make sure that the packet of seeds said that it was packed in the current year. This is because if seeds are old, they may have lost their viability if they weren't stored properly. As seeds age, they decline in vigor. Some last many years in storage while others don't.
That's true. So if you have seeds left over at the end of the season, store them in tightly sealed glass containers. You can store different kinds of seeds, each in individual paper packets, together in a large container. Keep your seeds dry and cool. A temperature between 32 and 41 degrees Fahrenheit is ideal, so your refrigerator can be a good place to store seeds. If you're unsure about the quality of your seeds, you can do a germination test. Count out a specific number of seeds, like 10 or 20. Place them on a damp paper towel, fold the towel, and insert it in a Ziploc bag. Store the bag somewhere warm, and check it daily, counting the number that have germinated. Once germination slows or stops, divide the number that germinated by the total to get your germination percentage. In this example, 10 out of 10 radish seeds germinated, for a 100% germination rate, which is terrific. If your germination rate is 60% or below, you'll need to sow extra seeds or perhaps buy new ones.
Even with new seeds, I've had poor germination in the past. What's the right way to plant seeds?
A lot of information can be found on the seed packet or in the seed catalog, including spacing and planting depth. As a rule of thumb, the planting depth for vegetable seeds should be 2 to 3 times their diameter. So for a large seed, like a squash, you'll be planting deeper than a very tiny seed like a carrot. Make sure you have incorporated your fertilizer into the soil ahead of time, and never put seeds or seedling roots in direct contact with large amounts of fertilizer. Once you've sown your seeds and covered them with soil, make sure to water them in to ensure good seed-to-soil contact. If the seed doesn't have good contact with the soil, it won't be able to absorb the water it needs to germinate. But water gently. You don't want to wash away tiny seeds. Make sure to keep the soil moist until seeds germinate. This could mean watering daily or even multiple times a day if it's very hot and dry.
What if I do all that and my seeds still don't germinate?
You may just need to be patient. Some seeds like carrots and parsnips germinate very slowly. Other possible causes for poor germination include your soil drying out too much, the seeds being eaten by sneaky birds, your seeds being too old, or the soil was too cold when you planted the seeds. And finally, the seeds might have germinated, but they were overtaken by weeds and you can't find them.
Any tricks for dealing with tiny seeds? It's impossible to get the spacing right.
One option is to buy pelleted seed, which has had a coating added to make handling tiny seeds easier. Here's an example of spacing pelleted carrot seeds. Another option is to plant extra and thin the plants once the seeds have germinated. But don't skip that thinning step. It's very important to give plants the space they need. Finally, a fun activity you can try with kids is to make seed tape. See the resource list for a video on how to do this.
I bought a bunch of seedlings. Anything special I need to do when I plant them?
First, think about the mature size of the plant. For example, a beefsteak tomato will take up much more space than a small pepper plant. Make sure to space your plants so that as the plants mature, there's still room for air to circulate around them and for direct sunlight to reach them. Because of our humid summers, this is very important for disease control. It may seem like a lot of space when the plants are small, but some tomato varieties may need to be as much as 4 feet apart. When planting, first water your seedling in its container to make sure it's hydrated. Bury the root ball and firm the soil around it, forming a slight depression at the base of the plant to catch water. Water it in well right after planting to eliminate air pockets in the soil. Do not bury the root ball deeper than it was in the pot. The exception is tomatoes. Because they can grow roots from their buried stems, a good way to deal with a tall, leggy tomato plant is to cut off the bottom leaves with clean scissors, let the wounds heal overnight, and bury the stem in a trench or deep hole, making sure any remaining leaves don't touch the soil surface. And a note about those biodegradable pots. They may not break down fast enough, so if you can, remove them.
In the past, I've lost a few of my transplants. What happened?
It's possible that the conditions weren't ideal when you planted them. Here are some ways to maximize the chances of your seedlings not only surviving, but thriving. Avoid planting on very windy days, or in the middle of the day on a particularly hot, sunny day, as excess heat and wind can add to the stress of transplanting and cause plants to wilt and stems to snap. If your garden is in a particularly windy location, consider creating little protective barriers for your seedlings, like milk jugs with the bottoms and tops cut off. Make sure your seedlings are properly hardened off. Hardening off is the process you use to gradually transition your plants to outdoor conditions. Over the course of a week or more, take your seedlings outside and expose them gradually to more sun, wind, and temperature variations. Water in your transplants when you put them in the ground and keep them moist as they establish themselves. Once they've developed a more substantial root system, you can pull back on the watering. Make sure not to put warm season crops out too early. Warm season crops include eggplants, peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, and melons. Wait until nighttime temperatures are in the 60s before putting these outside. In the past, if you notice that your tomato leaves turned purple when you transplanted them, this could be a sign they were too cold. It's a common mistake, but plants put out too early can become stunted. Just make sure your transplants aren't becoming root-bound as you wait for the right conditions to plant.
Uh-oh. I have some transplants at home that are already root-bound. What should I do?
Try to loosen the root ball of the plant by gently teasing apart the roots before you put it in the ground. If this isn't possible, you'd be better off replacing it with a younger transplant.
I feel like I'm ready to plant my seeds and seedlings. What should I have on hand?
It's helpful to have a trowel, ruler, string, and stakes on hand for laying out your rows before you start planting. You'll also want a watering can on hand to water things in. Soon enough, you'll need a trellis for crops like peas and pole beans, although they can also be used for cucumbers, melons, and winter squash. If you plan to use row cover to protect your crops from insects, it's important to put it down as soon as you transplant and before seeds emerge. Don't forget to label your plants so you can track down which varieties perform well for you. There are tons of creative DIY options for markers. I prefer not to use the plastic ones that come with your plants because they become brittle in the sun and break. Lastly, now is the time to mulch around plants to prevent weeds before they get a chance to germinate. Shredded leaves and dry grass clippings from herbicide-free lawns make good mulches. Save those wood chips for your perennial plantings.
Thanks, Marjorie, Cara, and Becca. So, to recap, there are many ways to lay out plants in your garden. Position tall plants on the north side of your garden so that they don't shade others. Allocate plenty of space for sprawling plants like squash. Plan to rotate your crops by plant family. Use transplants for crops that won't mature from seed during our growing season. Sow seeds for root crops directly in the ground. Wait for the right conditions to transplant seedlings. Make sure you keep your newly planted seeds and transplants moist. Get your tools and supplies ready before you start. Store your extra seeds in a cool, dry place. More information is available on Maine Cooperative Extension's website and in the video description. Please be sure and check out our next video on managing weeds in your garden.